what used to be the biggest gas guzzler on the road is back, but this time fully electric. And also a convertible. Yes, you heard me right, and I got the chance to take this reinvented Hummer from LA to Palm Springs, and I wanted to see if I like it better than the Cybertruck or the Rivian. So today I'll show you everything I liked and don't like about the Hummer EV. First things first, the price. The Hummer EV starts at $98,000, which is more expensive than the Cybertruck, which now starts at around $80,000, and the Rivian R1s, which starts at $82,000. And I know this isn't a truck, but I think the Cybertruck is the best comparison because it's around the same size, and Hummer also does sell a truck version. So going inside this car, of course, it is very roomy because it's quite a wide car, so that makes for a really comfortable ride, but also a little bit of anxiety if you're not used to driving a vehicle so big. It feels more like a truck than an SUV when you're driving. I thought the interior was really sleek. You've got the two displays. It's a 13.4-inch infotainment system, so it's pretty big. The car has a lot of actual physical buttons, both on the steering wheel and around the infotainment system.
The UI of the screen, I'm not a huge fan of. It's hard to beat Tesla's. It feels like an Apple product, like it's just so easy to use. Whereas this uses Apple CarPlay and their own kind of system that it would just take some getting used to. I'm sure if you drove this car every day, you would get used to it, but I'll be honest, I don't like it as much as I like the Tesla interface and software. This one, I'm like, okay, it's just a little clunky.
Yeah, you can see it just feels like a little bit outdated to me, this UI. I don't love it. There's a ton of space here. This car is quite wide. So, I mean, you could set up your laptop and also just like set your phone there. It's a really great spot for that.
The material inside they call a leather alternative. It does feel more like a fabric, like a performance fabric. So it's not leather, it's more of a synthetic material.
Something I really like is that there's still a lot of physical buttons in this car. So you can have that muscle memory and easily change the air conditioning, the music, whatever, without really looking. I'm a fan of the physical buttons. If you're someone who hasn't owned an EV before, it's just gonna feel a lot more like a normal car than a Tesla, which is more minimal, just a little bit different.
And over in the back seat, it's really roomy back here, and I like that they put an actual 110-volt outlet so you can charge things.
This is my 16-inch laptop. I'm impressed. It actually fits perfectly in this spot. And then I have it plugged in down here. Not a lot of cars are actually wide enough to be able to fit a 16-inch laptop in between here. Now I basically have a little mobile office. So if I got somewhere early and wanted to get some work done, like it's comfy back here. This is a nice setup. I feel like I have like a desk almost. How crazy. Realistically, I mean, you probably wouldn't do this very often, but there are times where I need to transfer footage and I'm getting my laptop out in my car and it feels very cramped. So this is like pretty cool.
Overall, I thought the interior was really nice in the Hummer. It's more traditional with all the buttons, but I do like the UI better in Teslas, and Teslas are more modern. Honestly, both interiors are nice. It just comes down to personal preference, if you like a minimalist interior or if you like more buttons. And the feature I was most intrigued by was the fact that it's a convertible. So they call this an infinity roof, and there are sky panels. You do have to manually take them off, which intimidated me, but I decided to see if I could do it.
So it looks like you just undo these latches and then we should be able to take this panel off. Curious to see if it's heavy. Oh, okay. That's not that hard actually. Okay, and we can just set it in here.
The frunk is meant to hold the sky panels. I was kind of confused by how you're supposed to put them in. I could only fit like half of them in there, and then I just put half in the trunk, but there is a way that you should be able to do it.
Okay, number 2. Oh my gosh, they're a little hard, but not that hard. I'm dramatic. Okay. Oh my god, it's already looking really cool. This is gonna be the thumbnail shot of this video, I just know.
It probably took me about 20 minutes to actually do this, but that's because it was my first time doing it. I feel like you could do it probably within 5 minutes if you're seasoned at it, but I just wanted to show this clip in real time so you can see how long it takes. Like, it is kind of a hassle. You probably wouldn't actually do this that often, but it's a really cool feature that you're able to. And I feel like the fact that I could do it, really anyone can do this. Like, the panels are not that heavy, they're not that hard to latch. I honestly wasn't sure if I was going to be able to do it, but then I was like, okay, this is actually not that hard to do. And I mean, come on, it just looks so cool.
Imagine I just drive all the way back to LA like this. I mean, no, not on the freeway. It would just be so loud and annoying, but this would be pretty cool if you want to feel like you're on vacation, you want to be kind of flashy, you're driving around like a beach town, off-roading. It's cool. It's a hassle. Probably hardly ever do it. I wish it was just like the push of a button. It's cool that you have the option to. I mean, yeah, I like it. We're going to carefully slowly go for a drive.
Once I started driving, I was like, wait, no, I would do this all the time if I had this car in Palm Springs or something. Like, as long as you can park it in a garage, it's just such a vibe. It feels really good to be outside when you're going at slower speeds, so I wouldn't use it on the freeway, but just for like going around the city, it's awesome. Or if you're into off-roading, this would be really cool too. The only con of this having the convertible feature is that it does make it really loud when you drive over 70 miles per hour, even when you have the roof back on. You just get a lot more wind noise than you would in a normal car. You don't really notice it under 70 miles per hour, but if you're kind of speeding on the freeway, it would get kind of annoying. I think if you actually use the convertible feature a lot, then it's worth that sacrifice, but if you don't think you'd use it that much, then it might not be worth that extra wind noise. One thing I was really excited to try out was the autonomous driving feature in this car. So a lot of the General Motors cars have a feature called Super Cruise, and it's actually pretty good. It's similar to Tesla Autopilot, where it will slow down, speed up, brake for you. It can even change lanes, but it will only do it on pre-mapped roads. So you can expect it on major freeways, but not city surface streets. Fellow EV YouTuber Kim Java and I took it on the 2-hour road trip, and here's some of our first impressions while we were driving the car.
Having Super Cruise for me is make or break, just because I'm so used to autopilot. I feel like I could never go back to a car that doesn't have any autonomous driving features at all. So I'm like, this is good to know that it works well, because I do this drive to Palm Springs all the time, and I'm like, I couldn't do it without it anymore.
The only thing you have to be aware of with Super Cruise versus like Tesla's autopilot is that if the road is not mapped, it like stops. And
what?
Yeah, so that can be like a thing. So I would still sort of like
pay attention.
Yeah. Sure. Like,
this did happen to me a couple times where Super Cruise stopped working. The way that it alerts you is more subtle than a Tesla. The green light flashes red, and then the seat also vibrates.
So we are like an hour and a half into the drive, and honestly it's been really chill because Super Cruise has been able to do this whole freeway, but the car can also change lanes. That's something I wasn't sure if it'd be able to do, so I'll show you guys. We'll put it on.
It doesn't do any auto lane changes, but basically if you prompt it to change lanes, it will find a time to do it.
And then this is something I'm pretty sure you have to pay a subscription for. After you get it free for 3 years, and then you have to pay like $20 a month. So I don't love that you have to pay for it, but at least it does change lanes for you, because the basic autopilot in a Tesla wouldn't. It would only stay in the same lane. So the Hummer SUV has a range of about 300 miles depending on the model you get. You can get it up to about 314. I feel like 300 is really a sweet spot with an EV. Really don't need much more than that, because I mean, how often are you really driving more than 300 miles in a day? Not very often. So 300 is more than enough. Like, you should be perfectly comfortable with that number.
This is the same amount you're gonna get with a Cybertruck, although I will note with the Rivian, you can get up to 400 miles of range. I really don't think you need 400 miles, but if you go on a lot of road trips, you might prefer that. One thing you should know though is that the Hummer EV is going to cost more to charge than the Cybertruck for that same amount of range. Notice how this car really does not look aerodynamic. I mean, the range is really only there because the battery is massive, but they did not have aerodynamics in mind when designing this vehicle. Depending on which model you get, the battery capacity could be up to 212 kilowatt hours, and that's for about the same amount of range that you're going to get in a Cybertruck, which battery is only about 120 kilowatt hours. Basically, this means it takes more energy to drive the Hummer than it does a Cybertruck, so the cost to supercharge it in somewhere like California is going to be more expensive. This is if you have the smaller battery size of the Hummer, but it's still going to be about $20 more to charge. Not terrible, but definitely more expensive than the Cybertruck. So while the Hummer EV looks cool and it looks more like a traditional truck, you pay the price for that lack of aerodynamics. Overall, I think the Hummer EV is pretty cool. It's not the cheapest option, but it's really the only option if you want a convertible SUV that's electric. It's a good option for someone who wants an electric truck or SUV and just doesn't want to buy into the Tesla ecosystem. This is a growing trend. I see a lot of people don't want to support Elon anymore and they're looking for alternatives. I mean, this is a good one if you have a really big budget, because it's not a cheap car by any means. So is it better than a Tesla? In terms of efficiency, autonomous driving, and overall value, I would say no. It's more expensive than a Cybertruck. Super Cruise is pretty good, but Tesla's full self-driving is still better. It's just different. I think it wins in terms of style. It looks cooler. I think most people would agree. It is a really cool car. I actually did like it a lot. And I think it's a good option for someone who wants an EV, but they don't want to feel like they're driving an EV. But what do you guys think? Comment down below. Hope that you guys enjoyed watching this video, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!